Hello, Starshine. The Earth says hello. I bought a new notebook, which is this one. I bought a magnificent mixed media made in Italy. Ooh, mamma mia. Because I didn't have any notebooks anymore. Let's just say that they died. And I finally got to draw in a bigger one. Finally. I've been drawing in this one the whole time, which is not for drawing, that's for sure. I was browsing my, app, and I see a comment and somebody said, I asked them, you want me to do something? Because I'm planning to, could you do some shading and teach how to use pastels? I'm not really a teacher. I'm someone that just does the hobby, done it for like a year or two. I'm no expert, but I can give, the basic advice. I honestly only know how to do it out of heart. I have seen some tutorials, but not actually teaching shading, just tutorials on how to draw a fish, how to draw a tree, how to draw this, how to draw that, and with that and me practicing, I kind of figure out a way to do it. These are my pastels. I love pastels. Don't attack me, don't come for me. I love them. I organize them by color, but not only that, from darkest to lightest. All the blues from the darkest blue to the lightest blue. And the reason why I do that, I have to always start with the darkest colors first. You don't go straight on with full on the whole paper filled with color. You do little bits, because on top of it, you're gonna put the light colors. And those are gonna mix together and they're gonna form a new color. That's how I do it all the time. Since I didn't know the science behind shading, I decided to do the research myself. You're welcome. There are only two places where I get my technical knowledge in art. For me, I'm not particularly doing art, it's just a hobby. These are not original works. Like I said, I often draw from images. The book from name here somewhere. This is the old version of the book. The author, Kenneth Leslie, explains that there are 3 ways to play with color, and one of them is value. What is value? Value is that grayscale that you see when color goes from lightest to darkest. The author explains it with an example that I really like, and I use AI so you can see this imaginary situation. He basically says, imagine a dinner table, and you have napkins and a candle. The candle is reproducing light. So we want the lightest white shade that you have, the purest white for the candle, and the not so pure white for the napkin. This is basically how you play with value, making the napkins pearly white and the candle the purest white. This not only happens with white, it happens with all the colors. For example, pink. It could be light or dark, and the name changes, but it's the same pink. The author makes another example with a window. By making the shades surrounding the window darker, it makes the illusion that the window is illuminated by light. That's how you manipulate shading and value. Another dude that I researched, Robert, he has a website. He first teaches the typical oil pastel techniques that you can use for shading, which is like light pressure, cross-hatching. You could also use normal hatching, stippling, and blending. Blending being my favorite personally. Those are techniques for like shading. And he also teaches about this tool, Grayscale and Value Finder. I printed it out. I personally used it on this drawing that I had laying around. And I just put a filter on my camera, black and white, and then used the scale to, find my values, I guess. I still am figuring out how to use this bad boy. I'm still not very clear how you use it. But if you find this tool to be useful for you, go ahead, be my guest. The first thing you need to learn about shading will be shapes. You need to learn that about drawing in general, so this is like a lesson of drawing, I guess now. The world is filled with shapes, let's say it like that. When you start drawing, you start seeing those shapes. You memorize the way that those shapes are shaded. You will be able and see in your drawings how to shade this or how to shade that. For example, this little thing is always in my shorts. You can see right here is illuminated by the lamp on the front and it's illuminated by the window over there, and it has shade here and a little bit of shade over there. So now you know how a cylinder works. You know how a cylinder works. Other things that look like a cylinder could be shaded similarly. For example, a human leg. It looks like cylinders. So you're gonna shade it pretty similarly, not exactly like this cylinder. Just like I explained before, the author Robert explains how shade can shape objects in general, and he says if you practice your shapes, you'll know eventually how to draw human anatomy. By following the techniques that he mentioned in the beginning, if you practice them religiously, you will be able to shade in no time. I was like, okay, I'll do shapes. You know, this is like the most basic way you can learn shading, at least in art. I wouldn't say oil pastel, I would say in art. So finally, we get to draw. As a start, I decided to do a kind of a design of what I wanted to do. And of course, the first thing I'm gonna try to do is the blending, because I like the technique number 4, like I said before. So I'm gonna explain very quickly what's blending. You start with your darkest color and then go lighter, as light as possible at the end of it. And then, with a lighter color, in this case white, you do the complete opposite, putting a lot of white by the end of it, and once you come to the opposite end, less and less pressure for the white. Now my next step for the design and the thing that the author recommended is drawing a lot of shapes, right? So that's what exactly I'm gonna do. I was thinking of doing first a sphere, then a pyramid, a cylinder, and then a cube, and learn my way through shading. This is gonna be a long one, so if you wanna skip all my drawing, you can go ahead to the end. Anyways, let's start our way through our sphere. It's gonna be red. Here's the sphere done. This part is the reflection of the table, so that's why it's like more illuminated than the rest of the sphere, which makes it a pretty cool 3D effect. Now let's try with the values. I still am figuring out how to use this. Let's go with the pyramid. This took me a while. I struggled, to be honest. It's not like the sphere that is very easy to do, and I've done it many times. The pyramid is a little bit fat. It's a little bit pregnant. The shadow, I didn't struggle with the shadow at all, just like with the sphere. It was pretty easy for me to do the shadow. I struggle a lot to do the layers for the pyramid again, just like with the sphere. I struggle a little bit to do layering. You can still see the white parts of the paper underneath. I'm guessing this happens because I use pentels, which are very dry, not very thick, so that's why I have to layer a ton with pentels. And yeah, I guess it's fine. I mean, I don't love it. I don't hate it either. Also, because I'm using such cheap tape that is not meant for putting on paper, when I took it off, I have a little bit of glue left. I can't take it off. Oh, don't do what I did. It also ripped some of the paper here, even though this is a very heavy 300-gram paper. So don't do that. I'm still figuring out how to use this. I pretty much don't know what's the objective of doing this. I went ahead and bought new tape. What I'm trying to do right now is that I Google how to use the gray value scale thingy, and somebody said you need to imitate it with, grays, and the more you do it, the better you become at making this scale. So this is me trying to match it. Did I fail? Did I do it right? I don't know. The next part is a cylinder, which I loved to do a lot, just like the sphere. It came pretty easy to me. I finished the cylinder after 40 minutes. Has a little bit of a shine reflection from the surface wherever he's staying on. He has a little bit of more shines. They're like a little bit more like triangular, and some of them are completely straight. And this face of the cylinder doesn't really have a shine, but it does goes lighter. And here the same spot where these shines are stronger. This is the shadow There are more than one shadow and I tried to make it here, but it came out ugly, so I stopped. Now it's time for me to do the cube, and I know I'm gonna struggle with this one. I already did it way too small and I had to draw it again and make it bigger. So here's the cube. I gotta say I struggle with this one the most, especially because I don't use often the greens. They don't mix very well. It didn't have much of a shadow, to be honest, so I just put a little bit, and I tried to put more layers of pastels, but nothing I did made it more smoother like the pyramid. So this is as far as I go with this. Geometric shapes, of course, as 3D as much as possible as I could do it. You can see the metallic ones, which are those two. The sphere and the cylinder were the easiest for me, particularly for me, because of the reference image that I had, And the ones that I struggled the most were the cube and the pyramid, because these are the ones that are for me the flattest. I also did a little grayscale and a color scale for you to see how value works, In conclusion, I'm gonna say that shading pretty much depends on your light source. It is confusing, yes, I know, but without light we cannot tell how strong your shade is gonna be. You know what I mean? If I have a light of the sun looking up down from me, it's gonna shine differently than a lamp or than the window. For example, when you really want a really strong light, you're gonna have a really strong shade. And you can also see it here. Light that I did for the sphere is far more brighter and stronger than the other ones. And the light for the cube was the softest for me. So as you can see, the cube has the least shadow, the more soft shadow I could do, because there are also different shapes of shadows and shading. You need to have a lot of reference pictures. That's how it works for me. I imitate everything I see. I think you pretty much got the basics on how it works for me. I hope this is enough. Keep working on it. Yes.